What's a modern convenience that actually made your life harder? Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Story 1. Why do I need an account to use your website? It's just one-time service. Also, I called customer service because your website is not user-friendly and does not have the services I am calling about. Stop asking me to hang up and go to the website. Story 2. My tumble dryer has a dozen presets for every kind of clothing, shirts, jeans, sports, silk, etc. But absolutely nothing on the machine or in the manual indicates temperature, which is literally a universal pictograph written on every item to tell you how to dry it. Also, I just spent a couple hours setting up my new TV. Used to be you plugged it in, turned it on, and it worked. Story 3. Today I had to go to the urgent care. I was the only one there. They could have just taken my ID and insurance and had a practitioner see me. But the only way to claim an appointment, even by walk-in, was by scanning a QR to register. Except that they were on the first floor of a big building and mobile service wasn't great. So I went on their Wi-Fi, but their website was down. So they had to print out paper forms that they had done away with, except their internet was also down. So they had me write my information on the back of some receipt paper and finally saw me. But they couldn't bill my insurance because their system was down. And then they knew they had to send my RX to a Walgreens, but couldn't because their system was down. So they called the closest Walgreens they could find for my RX, but it was actually 30 minutes away because their system was down. So I asked for a paper RX order and went to the Walgreens next door, who had to contact the Walgreens 30 minutes away to get the RX transferred because the system was down at the urgent care. But they couldn't verify the RX being transferred because the system was down at the urgent care. Story 4. This is sorta a tough one for me. I love my prosthetic legs to some extent, but in order to use them properly and adjust settings, I need my phone and the app. There are definitely some benefits, but also would be a huge downside if my phone wasn't available. Also, power outage? Charging it would come down to a generator as well as sometimes software problems. Stuck on an island? I'm screwed. I still have my very first prosthetic 3R60, which is purely mechanical that I take with me on every single trip in case there are power issues. In a month, I'm going to Disney World and taking 3 knees with me. My everyday one, my water knee, and that 3R60 in case anything happens. Love all the new tech, but it could get you into trouble. My old legs were able to be adjusted with a 4mm Allen wrench. Even one of them that had a microprocessor, it could still be manually adjusted. Unfortunately, no more of that. Back in 2012, I took my family on a Norwegian fjord cruise for a week. The following week was with our Norwich family. My microprocessor knee died the very first day of the cruise. Thankfully, I had my mechanical knee as backup. Would have been easier with the other knee, but thankfully knew how to walk with the first one. Story feed. Windows automatically saving all of my files to OneDrive. I like to think I'm somewhat tech savvy, but I can't for the life of me figure out how to stop it from happening. Recently moved a bunch of MP4 files from a USB to my PC, then a short while later my email stopped working because the OneDrive storage was full due to the files I thought I saved locally. Story 6. The whole applying for jobs online situation. I only work in hospitality and low-wage jobs. I miss the days of walking around town with my CV printed out, where I could talk to a manager about a vacancy instead of wasting endless time filling out the same details for jobs and often silly questionnaires, when I'll often hear nothing back at all. Story 7. Cloud services. I have my own portable drives. Not every free version of a cloud service has limited cloud storage, so it fills up and they can compel you to pay. Less tech-savvy people just bite the bullet often, but I had iCloud tell me that my solution was to copy it to my PC and clear it out. Then I go to my phone and my photos are all gone. I never asked to delete them from my phone. Story 8. Ike about made my life harder, but search engines correcting your search if they think you misspelled a word is a thorn in my side. The suggestions they give if they think you misspelled something are fine. It's when they start deciding, no, this is what you meant, without you saying so, and overriding the search results that it becomes an inconvenience. As someone who's often looking up non-modern English words, it's annoying. Stop being helpful and let me search for the thing I'm searching for. Story 9. White. When you order a new product, Roomba, and the owner's manual is online, and they want you to link it to your phone so you can turn it on from work or whatever. I just want to push a button and make it go, and I like paper manuals. Story 10. Applying for jobs online. Can't just show up and ask for an application anymore. Everything is done online now, and most of these companies' application websites are some backwoods ass with no security certificate and a UI that looks like it was programmed in Notepad. Story 11. Two-factor authentication for everything. You are a free recipe website. You made me set up a password. Let me use it. No, I don't need a second form of ID to use this site. You have exactly zero of my vital information, no money, no numbers, and everything you have that someone might want is freely given on my public profile. Email, banking apps, sure, two-factor me there. But all recipes in YouTube, why? Story 12. Espresso machine. Saving money at home instead of coffee at a store. Sure, but then there's the cleaning and the grinding and the getting the perfect foamy top and the 5 cups a day problem. Took me 20 minutes to make a cup of espresso. Story 13. Online shopping replacing brick and mortar shopping. I do a lot of hobbies where the feel of things is really important. I live in a high-package theft area. I have ADHD and want to start on things without having to wait 7 days for my supplies to arrive. I wish I could just hop on down to whatever store I need, be able to check online if they have it in store, not online, and pick up what I need right then. Story 14. Mobile phones and being accountable to people 24/7. I wish I was born during the days where you just catch up with people when you saw them. I also feel like that meant friendships lasted better through times where you didn't see each other. Now the constant expectation to maintain communication is exhausting. Some of my friends understand, but largely people will just write you off if they haven't heard from you in a few months. Story 15. I have a smart lamp on my room. It asks me download an app to register and log in so I can use it. Every time I leave my house, the lamp forgets my login, and I have to do it again using their horrendous app. Otherwise, the lamp goes blinking. Yes, blinking. If I don't do these steps every day, I will not be able to turn on my light. The switch on my wall is just for decoration now. The whole process takes 2 minutes. I need to take that down for my sanity. Story 16. Every appliance in my home is worse than the ones before them. I used to be able to cook even when my fingertips weren't perfectly clean and perfectly dry. Now I gently paw at the stovetop and pray that it will register a touch. Speaking of glass stovetops, I used to be able to adjust the heat or turn it off instantly with the flick of a wrist. Now it takes 6 to 7 seconds as I watch it count down from 9 to 1 to off. I used to be able to spin something dry in the washing machine. Now that I have a smart machine, everything must be rinsed first, and I can set the temperature for a wash. But it takes 4 to 5 button presses to override the enigmatic programs, and it won't remember any settings because it's more smart than the user. It was my choice to buy a washer-dryer combo machine, and I knew that it uses steam to dry the clothes. Yes, a modern marvel that uses extra water to dry something, but now my clothes can only be exactly as dry as the smart machine decides to make them. Still damp? Too bad you can't throw them back in. Melted and shrunk? Too bad the extra 45 minutes of drying time were out of your hands. I used to have an iron that was made of iron. It held heat and transferred it to the clothes, making them, well, ironed. Now I have a lightweight aluminum iron that goes cold in the middle of the process, and my clothes are forever wrinkled. I used to have a TV that would display whatever I connected to it. Now I have a hidden camera in my sitting room that requires online connectivity for constant updates, but it's very smart because it interrupts the display once you connect something and names it unknown or PC, whatever it may be. Now I have to remember that HDMI 2, called PC, is the stereo, and HDMI 3, called TV, is my PC, because it interrupts the display every time in order to go through this again. Story 17. Touch screens. There's not a single piece of technology in my life I wouldn't want converted back to analog buttons, knobs, switches, and faders. I get why they are standard in today's world, but I still groan when I have to use on a printer, car, coffee machine, headphones, vending machine, or whatever. Analog controls are more tactile, easier to fix and tinker with, and you don't have to directly look at what you're touching to use it accurately. The frustration of fat thumbing the wrong thing or wondering, did it register my touch or is it just loading, is enough to put me in a mood. Story 18. Restaurant websites that never update or just redirect you to Facebook, but then you have to scroll through thousands of photos or posts just to find a menu. Like, why do you still pay for this website if y'all just end up using FB for everything and then decide to half-ass that anyway? Story 19. The enshittification of the internet over the past decade is pretty awful. Also, safety features in cars that cause them to beep incessantly. Thankfully, my 2016 model was the perfect era with a lot of good features, but none of the nanny bullshit. The second I need to buy a newer car, I will find an auto electrician who is happy to take cash under the table to turn off all of that dog shit that ruins modern cars. Story 20. In the 1650s, the rules of honorable harvest were totally ignored by colonists who sought to take the land for everything it's worth. It was convenient for a few hundred years, but now the forests are sick and the soil is poor, and the new forests don't grow with as much biodiversity as they once did. Now I'm separated from the land by a culture who thinks it can be owned and sold, and modern life is so out of balance with nature that complex civilization will soon be unsustainable and may collapse. So I guess the culture of irresponsible dominion over nature was convenient, but now it's making life harder for most living things. Story 21. Mobile phone bullshit. Every place wants you to download their phone app and make an account. Just let me buy the thing and give me a receipt. I'm not a phone zombie, I'm a computer lich. And just doing something like switching to a mobile provider. AT&T, switching over to Spectrum, which is way cheaper. Even after the discount we get for 3 years, we're still going to be saving over $100 a month. You got to go through a billion different bullshits just to do everything. And all these stupid companies just assume everyone browses on their phones and just happily makes themselves completely open every phone app they have. I'm a millennial computer dork. I was on the internet when only nerds and hobbyists were online. Back you'd get made fun of being on the computer at all. The dark times, the good times, the better, but also worse times. Just let me click a button and enter a code. Let me click. Story 22, smart TVs. They seem great at first, but then a couple years go by, and the thing is outdated for the current OS updates, and it takes 30 minutes to find the streaming app you want. I actually still have an old plasma TV that is just a simple plug-in and select input, and I love it for that. I want to upgrade to OLED, but then I have to get a smart TV. Story 23, software updates that dumbs everything down for idiots and makes it impossible for tech-literate people to do. So you have to become even more tech-literate to do it, or wait for a super nerd to come along and make a third-party program or plugin to get whatever feature back you wanted. This is for Microsoft Windows most all. These asshats always ruin Windows when it's perfectly fine. It's not enough to do security updates. These morons have to take away features and bloat the OS with garbage no one wants. Spies on you harder and crashes all the time. I wish someone would make a competitor. No, I don't want to get Linux and figure out which of the billions I need. No, I don't want the OS everyone recommends for tech-illiterate people. I'm just tech-literate enough to know how much of a hassle it's going to be because my work requires a specific combination of new and old programs that I'm most likely the only person in the world who uses this specific combo because I have a specific workflow with a bizarre combo of skills I've combined to make a living. Story 24. Every now and then, you see one of those new idea commercials on a low-visibility channel. Last horrible idea I recall was this battery-powered grill scrubber robot. It scrubs the grill for you, and you just have to put it in, take it out, recharge it, clean the scrubbers, find a place to put it without leaving grease everywhere while you're cooking, etc. Just take a minute with a wire brush, and you're saving yourself so much time. Story 25, productivity trackers. The more I feel like I'm watched, the worse I do. It's like having a cop behind you. You know you aren't speeding or doing anything wrong, but feel like you're going to get pulled over anyways. Also, the trackers are inhumane and have started treating humans like robots. You can't even take a piss without being questioned where you are. Let's start remembering humans aren't machines, and instead of punishing people who aren't reaching your ridiculous quantity. Quality over quantity always. Story 26, AI information research. Instead of searching for the odd web page or paper that was definitely correct, it's now way easier and time-effective to get this huge flow of kinda correct information instantly through AI platforms. I feel like most people even know that the responses are 50% waffle, but they don't care as the alternative takes so much longer now. Story 27, the internet. In recent years, it's incredibly annoying for every site to have a pop-up asking me about their cookie policy, like I'm not even sure why this is a thing to begin with or how it started. There's a setting in your browser called Do Not Track. So why are they asking me? Piss off with this. And requiring subscriptions or whatever to read a news article. Story 28. I'm old enough to remember a time when no one had cell phones and young enough to understand how incredibly useful of a tool they are. That being said, I think the constant ability to be connected to the amount of information the internet provides combined with the new societal expectation that you are always reachable is ruining life as we know it. The world survived perfectly fine when you were pretty much only reachable while at your workplace in limited time outside of that. But now my customers, friends, acquaintances, people I don't really know but know me, And every other person that could potentially want to reach me can do so anytime they want through my cell or social media. Story 29. Current versions of LLMs. Not only are they trained on other people's work, often copyrighted and always without compensation, their hallucinations are a threat to safety, security, and information fidelity. If I can't make it collate a list of data points I type into it directly without adding extra out of thin air, how much more if dealing with electronic health records, management decisions, or deciding who gets fired in a government agency? Story 30. Our city got light rail train, LRT, to replace the bus network in our city, Ottawa. My life of getting on a bus, falling half asleep and getting off in front of my building turned into get on bus, get off bus and get on LRT when it was working. Get off LRT and then either walk across the bridge in 40 weather to my building or wait for another bus on the platform. It actually played a major factor in my decision to switch jobs. Story 31. Everyone has a car and roads are everywhere. Sidewalks aren't because everyone has a car, right? And who needs a taxi or the bus when you can call an Uber? I'm epileptic. Until this past year, I was not cleared and learned to drive, and it's basically illegal for me to drive without clearance in my U.S. state. Even my own parents didn't fully get why this was an issue until they had to drive me everywhere in college. Story 32. LEDs. I work in the film world. LEDs, as great as they are, has added so much more to lighting. It used to be he's a lamp, it's made up of a glass tube, housing, and 3 wires. You run it over with a truck, replace glass, and keep going. Now incandescents are getting harder to find, and LEDs are basically just lights with computers in them. Everything needs to be programmed. If it gets to hot, it flickers. If it gets to cold, it flickers. And now when it starts burning out, you have to replace the whole thing and spend thousands. They're also heavy real pain. They look cool though. Story 33. Please enter an email and password to sign up for an account or enter a new password. Then when you do it, redirects you to a page where you have to enter your new email and password to enter your account. I just did that. Oftentimes I'm on the site because of an email they've sent. When I'm signed in, it asks, do you want to receive emails? Story 34. This may not be a popular answer, but for me in the workplace, it is for sure email and instant messaging apps like Teams. My view doesn't come from the standpoint that instant communication isn't a good thing, because it is. However, it's more from the point of view that people want things immediately instead of having to wait their turn. Every email and Teams message is a fire that must be put out, it seems. It interrupts trains of thought, workflow, etc. It is annoying. Story 35. This is going to be pretty meta-sounding, but the amount of choice we have in the modern world. As someone with mild autism, ADHD, and ADD, having so much choice in the world is daunting at times. Take streaming services. I'll sometimes spend an hour just looking through the endless options and never picking something to watch just because the choices are so daunting. Same thing for music streaming. I miss the days of iPods. I still use one. I go to the search bar of Apple Music, and I literally can't think of a single song to listen to sometimes. It was easier when we just had our entire hand-selected music library right there in our pockets. Story 36. In most circumstances, waiters, waitresses, I have to wait to fill my glass because it's their job. I have to wait to get my food because it's their job. I have to wait until one of them is free to bring up issues because it's their job. I can't just tell the chef what I want because that's the waiter's job. I can't even pour my own cheese over my food. I have to try to time the amount of cheese just right, and it gets super awkward if it wasn't the exact amount I wanted. And then I have to pay them extra. Story 37. AI. I love crafts, sewing, felting, embroidery, etc. All crafting sites are absolutely flooded with scam AI patterns now that make garbage that looks nothing like the pictures. Trying to find legit patterns is a nightmare. Also, I make a living as an artist, and I can feel my whole 20-year career about to be ripped out from under me. Hopefully not immediately, but inevitably. Story 38. Smart doorbells. Especially when they're not hooked up to the actual doorbell circuit. I ring a doorbell for a food delivery. You know who gets the notification? The parents who are out of the house at the moment. You know who doesn't? Their kid inside who ordered the food. So now after ringing and getting no answer, I get to knock and wait even longer for someone to answer. Story 39. My cell phone. I used to work in IT and had the company phone when on after hours and weekend duty, but I stubbornly refused to get one of my own until just 3 years ago. Why? Because I knew people would call me for frivolous or non-time sensitive things. I don't want to field calls while going to a doctor's app or something. But my youngest has many health issues, and my wife garnered support from a few family members to get me a cell phone for emergencies in case something happened to our son while I was out running errands. In 3 years, that emergency has never come up. But I have been called many times with a request to add a stop to my errands, to pick up some snacks, or to ask if I knew where an object was in the house. Story 40, every supermarket has a goddamned app. They have added admin as some, you have to select discounts, others, you get them automatically. Oh, look, here's a discount game. Ooh, look, more offers, but you can't have all of them. Choose wisely. Oh, you have points, eh? No, you can't use them to pay part of the cost here, but you can at that other store. Oh, point. Yes, those have to be converted into voucher codes first. Discount only at your home store? Oh no, our tills can never ever scan the code. You'll have to type it in each time you visit. We can see from all your shopping you can't eat a specific type of food. So hey, here's all the discounts you could ever wish for that. Story 41, apps to control welfare technology. My grandpa is struggling to use his hearing aid because he doesn't understand the app. He's struggling so much with technology that he once said, I don't have a password for my Facebook when I was helping him to log in. How can they expect him to understand the app? So now he has to rely on his children or grandchildren to come and help him if something isn't right with it. Story 42, everything online. Not only online services, even institutional ones are going through enshittification at an alarmingly fast pace. They generally also mean that trying to do it in person at an office has become unnecessarily hard. Very recent gripe, car insurance. 10-15 years ago, I would receive a letter a couple of weeks before the renovation date. I'd go to their office on the first available occasion, go to one of 10 tellers, hand over paperwork and money, get a receipt, done. Now I get an email that regularly ends up in the spam tray, even if I whitelisted the address 1,000 times already. Then an SMS that tells me to renew via the app, which is bloatware I never have any need for beside this occasion. So it has logged off, and half the time won't let me log back in because you need half a dozen factor authentications that require you to read a message, which on some phones you can't do without getting out of the app, which resets the form, or authenticate via an email that never comes unless you try asking to resend half a dozen times. So you go to the office, and now 7 tellers are closed and used as impromptu ad space. Of the other 3, one is never manned. So you queue 45 minutes if you are lucky, only to talk with an employee who ends up guiding me through the app as if I was some sort of tech illiterate, except that it ends not working for them, either because the system is unusually slow today. The system is always unusually slow anytime I try to use it. Story 43, apps I have to download to communicate with my job, like Teams and WhatsApp. I barely use social media apps in my social life. Now you expect me to open a message on my time off because there's last-minute schedule changes? Off. Buy me a work phone at least. Story 44. Having any smart technology in a car, I just need a damn car to go places. I don't need half that's available. Half the time it doesn't work anyway. Like, why do I need a subscription to the services offered on my car? Like GPS. I now have to use a convoluted method to use the GPS on the screen available in my car because I don't want to pay $100 a month for Starlink. Story 45, moronic voice recognition software like PowerScribe instead of human transcriptionists slowed down my dictations about tenfold. This was implemented mainly as a corporate cost savings measure because human transcriptionists are expensive and has basically cost-shifted the real work of generating and correcting typed reports onto the person dictating the report. Story 46. Doesn't necessarily make it harder, but I hate how everyone is trying to force AI on me. Google's AI overview is always wrong. Microsoft keeps trying to make me use Copilot. I deleted Snapchat because I found the AI so irritating. If I want to use AI, I will, but please stop shoehorning it into everything. Story 47. That a lot of companies have outsourced their customer support to the customers. Problem with your order? You have to fill out a form and wait. Oh no, you didn't provide the exact info their system recognizes, so you have to call in. The menu has multiple options that cover the things you actually can see on the website before giving you the option to speak to someone. That person has to ask for all of the same info again, then can't see your order, so you have to name off the 18 things the driver forgot to drop off. I already have a job, you jerks. Fix my problem and pay me for the time. Story 48. Automated sinks, soap dispensers, and towel dispensers in public bathrooms. Turning a faucet, pumping some soap, and pulling on towels is not that much of an inconvenience. Instead, half the time I'm waving my hand in front of something, trying to figure out how to get it to work, and we're needlessly installing electronics, shucks, batteries, etc. Story 49 feels like nearly every single website these days, frankly. There's almost always something that doesn't work or is slow and poorly run, and so many businesses have hollowed out their customer service that you're often on your own to try and figure it out anyway, particularly for anything that might be at all times sensitive. There are any number of internet solutions that simply aren't actually appreciably better for the end user than how we used to do things. Story 50, I don't use these, but read receipts. You might think that more information is always useful, but I think read receipts add a layer of information that only creates weird social dynamics and add unnecessary anxiety about imagined slights. Without them, I don't know if my friend has received my text until I get a response. So if it takes them a day to respond, it either means that they saw it and didn't feel it was important, or they just hadn't had a chance to look at their phone for a while, or they looked at it but had to wait until later to respond. Without read receipts, I'm much more willing to give someone the benefit of the doubt. But if you can see whether someone has read your message, you start making up reasons why they are leaving you on read. It somehow feels more personal, more intentional if you know they have seen your message but aren't responding. It's fertile ground for anyone with even a little bit of anxiety to start projecting or making assumptions. Leaving someone on read is a social faux pas, a deliberate slight. Even if without read receipts, we would be more willing to assume that something else is going on. Story 51, everything is monthly subscription. I hate that so much I can't even describe it. Oh, you want to watch Low TR? Subscribe to Amazon. Want to watch Harry Potter? Subscribe to Netflix. Want to watch Star Wars? Subscribe to Disney. And boom, you're already paying $35 a month. Ooh, you also don't want ads on your app? Enjoy this $10 a month subscription, on top of the other $10 Apple Music subscription. And if that's not enough, you can also pay for YouTube Premium, and Hulu, and Apple TV. And it doesn't stop. It's getting worse and worse. I hate that so much I canceled pretty much all subscriptions I have had, them companies. Story 52, online job boards. It's impossible to stand out when everyone in the world applies to every job. I will die on the hill that the labor market is more efficient with a bit of red tape. Employers are petrified by choice, a la the economic theory of choice overload. I'm confident that's why every interview I've gotten has come through a project-based application. It weeds out the people who don't really care about the position and most people with hyperbolic resumes. Story 53, touchscreen. I prefer real buttons, especially in cars. It's way too dangerous trying to find a button. At my physical therapist, they have these flat touch push buttons on the treadmills. I need to use my knuckles because they are so hard to push in. Needing an app for everything. All the damn pop-ups on websites. I don't need your 10% discount. Chill. All the ads make me want to never buy anything from them. Story 54, recent online shopping. Blessing and a curse. Some get it right, others not so much. Tons of third-party sellers on site that typically only sells their own products. Walmart, Target, Kohl's, etc. Amazon to an extent. Those third-party sellers can be shady and send the wrong thing. Broken, used, and it's a pain to get a refund or return, or they claim it's right. Those sites even have ads plastered on them to send people elsewhere. Clicking on anything, adding anything to a cart, etc. And minutes later getting the leave something behind on Niawaham, or we saw you looking at. I hit the unsubscribe button so quick. I like seeing some of their ads and promotions, but the spammy gets old real quick. So I just dip out. Advertising's going too far with that. Amazon, for all of its faults, has generally been pretty good. They have some things that are annoying and don't work right, but overall, the shopping experience is pretty damn good. Search, shop, look, click buy, and in a couple days it's there. No hoopla, no. Did you forget something? No ads all over the place? Whatever. It's just doing what it does, and it does it well. Story 55, cell phones getting bigger and bigger. I use an iPhone 13 mini because it's easier to hold one-handed. I dread the day this thing dies and I have to go back to a full-sized phone again. I don't use it for games, videos, anything that needs a 6-inch screen. I even have all my apps set up within thumb's reach of the bottom corner, so I don't have to readjust. Story 56, my apartment made an app for our gates to get into parking, and also through the entryway instead of the clicker. So instead of driving up and hitting the clicker as you approached, you had to drive up, stop, open the app, wait for it to load, select which gate to open it, park, get to the entryway, get out your phone, open the app. It was actually faster to break into my complex than it was to get in the normal way, and there were days where I'd do just that. Literally take the street parking and jump the fence, or reach over the door to get the handle from the inside. Story 57, needing a mobile phone number for everything. I have a no-contract phone because that's all I need. Apparently that's a problem if you're applying for anything credit-related. Applied for a credit card a few months ago, and it was delayed for weeks because they couldn't use my phone number to verify my identity. Took them a week to notify me of that by snail mail, and I had to fax them a bunch of stuff. Devices not having ports and doing everything wirelessly, great until something goes wrong. My tablet no longer finds my smart TV, so I'm using an HDMI cable. But my tablet doesn't support HDMI, so I have to dig out an old outdated tablet that actually has the port. Story 58, dating apps. And yes, we say this as people building a dating app. Don't get us wrong, they've made it easier than ever to meet people outside your circle. But at the same time, they've made dating way more complicated. Endless swiping, ghosting, choice paralysis. It sometimes feels like real connections get lost in the noise. We're working on something different with Rumors, but dating apps are a modern convenience that definitely added a whole new layer of frustration to people's lives. Story 59, tech stuff. It's like the little girl with the curl in the middle of her forehead. When it works, it's really good, but when it doesn't, it's hell. Right now, I am dealing with a slow phone and am totally stumped. It's brand new, using internet and not carrier, have gone through the whole of settings and checked for malware, etc., etc., etc. I even dragged out my old 5 years phone, and it's faster than the new one. Ready to send slow phone sailing into the woods. Story 60, so damn many of them. I don't think we realize not only how much we're giving up for the sake of convenience, I also don't think we realize the cost. Our whole society right now is built around convenience. So many jobs are just service jobs providing a slight convenience that exists only because we're all so damn exhausted, but we have to work more to pay for the conveniences, which makes us more exhausted, and so on. Story 61, raid receipts. My job has me looking at my phone a fair amount throughout the day because my coworkers text me about situations. I read my texts, so I know if there's a new one. Sometimes my kid, mom, etc. see that I've seen their text and start hounding me to respond. I'll get to y'all, but it'll be when I'm not working. Unless you're paying me during my work hours, you're not my priority because you need help putting in an online grocery order or want to have a friend over. Story 62, instant messaging. I know how useful and convenient it is in case of emergencies and work purposes. I use it a lot too for daily tasks, but I hate keeping in touch with friends through them. We tend to take it personally when someone doesn't respond to us in certain time frame. I hate being in a situation where I don't want to respond, but do it because other person knows I am online and will feel bad if I don't respond. Moreover, not everyone is good at chats, texts. It's bigger tasks to keep conversation interesting. My friendships feel like chores when I see one-word answers to my long-haul paragraphs. Calls, and to some extent mails, since we can't write letters anymore, are more useful for casual life conversations. Story 63. Anything that requires a smartphone in order to operate. If your service requires me to download an app in order to give you money, I am not giving you any money. If I see a car park that's app only, I turn around straight away. Car parks were already automated years ago with ticket machines. Why on earth are people getting rid of them? Story 64, touch buttons. I need mechanical buttons. I turn off my phone alarm just trying to pick up my phone. I skip to the end of my podcast just taking my phone out of my pocket. I turn on the oven trying to wipe the panel clean. Same with the rice cooker. Same with the slow cooker. Same with the entertainment panel in the car. Please, just allow me to depress an actual button. Story 65, late to the party, but smart watches. I don't want to clear notifications for stuff my phone pushed to my watch to see the time. I don't want to update my watch or be asked if I want to meditate. I look down at my wrist. I want to know what time it is. I downgraded to a normal watch and been happier since. Fitness stuff on the watch is cool though. I put it on for that kind of thing, but my day-to-day watch is not smart. Story 66, fire safety door handles. New apartments in my area have these new door handles that are supposed to be safer in the event of a fire. You turn the handle from the inside, and it automatically unlocks the deadbolt for you, and you can get out quicker. This probably sounded fine on paper. However, if you have a small child, or in my case a cat, they can just hang off the handle and open the door. So to any toddler, they can open the door and wander out because there's really no way of locking it to the inside because of the fire safety handle. The fix is to buy a special baby-proofing gizmo that locks the handle in place, which means if there ever was actually a fire, it's going to take me 10 minutes to undo the stupid baby lock thing to get out of my house instead of the 3 seconds it would have taken to turn the deadbolt myself without this handle. Story 67, cell phones. I find the only thing they are actually useful for is navigation. If you break down, you can flag someone down and cops will usually stop to see if you need help. Having a landline was just so much better. Cell phones are a constant distraction now, and I have a rule that I don't use it at home at all. When I am home, it stays on a charger and works like a landline. I won't answer texts, only calls. Emergencies and navigation are what it's used for. I refuse to use it for anything else. Story 68. In the UK, all the car parks are moving to app-based payments rather than paying at a machine. Unfortunately, this means you always have to download the app of the company and then enter all your car details and then pay, which takes forever compared to just tapping my card on a machine and putting the ticket in my dashboard. All the car parks also seem to be in signal black spots too, meaning you either can't download the app or have to leave your car to find signal and hope the parking officer hasn't got there before you can download and pay on the app. Story 69. Heat top-load washing machine. It only fills 1/3 of the tub, so that one load of wash takes 3x the amount of energy and water. It doesn't have many holes in the tub, which makes dirt and pet hairs remain in the machine. This makes the dryer work harder to catch the hairs, popcorn debris, cat litter, among other matter. I have to use the dryer 3x more due to the washer doesn't wring enough water out of the fabric. If I let the washer loads pile up enough to place 3 of the small loads in the dryer, mildew grows and the dried fabric, especially towels, smells. It is a Maytag and you would think it should work better. What a waste of money. Story 70. Let's take a journey back to the 2010s. I didn't need an account to do things. I didn't need a Microsoft account to use Windows. I didn't need an account for anything. I buy technology and it works out of the box with no bullshit. I need to call customer service? I talk to a person like almost immediately. Story 71. Smartphone. This was supposed to be a useful device that helps me run my life efficiently and connect me to my loved ones from afar. But it just makes my life worse. I waste time on social media, and even when I delete those apps, I cannot stay off of the built-in web browser. Every business wants me to download their app. Everyone expects me to be available on a moment's notice. Story 72. Using an app to turn on or off lights in my home. Spouse's idea. Nothing like sitting in the pitch dark when the router is messed up or my phone battery is dead. Same issue with our electronic door lock. If the battery isn't maintained, then I have to jump my back fence to use a regular key to enter my home. Regular light switches and house keys have worked fine for humans for centuries. Story 73. Most of these are solutions to problems which were imagined specifically to sell modern conveniences. For example, before the smartphone existed, no one wanted one. Now, smartphone addiction is one of the leading symptoms of our failing collective mental health. What existing problem did the smartphone cure? Story 74. Having a car. It's a massive expense between fuel and maintenance. I'm single and I live in a rural area. Getting it repaired is logistically challenging. I have to drive an hour in the wrong direction and then get a rental. It's worse if you have payments. I'm lucky mine is paid off. I love my car, but it adds stress to my life. I miss living in a place with decent public transportation. Story 75. Gaming these days. God damn it. Every time I want to play just a bit, I have to enter my username and password I obviously forgot. Because the stupid launcher decided to log me out after 10 days for security reasons, then the launcher wants me to activate a 2-factor authorization, then the launcher needs an update, after which I have to log in once again. Then I can finally download all the updates for the games I initially wanted to play. That somehow bricked my installation and now needs me to repair the integrity of the game folder files. Fast forward 1 hour, I'm tired and annoyed and go to bed. Story 76. Cars. Here in America, our infrastructure and city design has been completely ruined by car-based infrastructure. Unless you live in one of the few cities with a somewhat functional public transit system, owning a car is essentially necessary to live, because otherwise it's nearly impossible to get anywhere in a timely fashion without one. And even where there is public transit, it's usually heavily hampered by the car-based infrastructure it has to function within, as well as a car-obsessed culture opposed to improving public transit at every turn. So instead, you usually have to buy a car, which is at the very least a few $100s you have to pay in loan payments, car insurance, and gas every month. It also means that if you, for whatever reason, you lose the ability to drive a car, unless you have a good amount of money saved, you're basically screwed. Now, with that said, cars themselves are not inherently bad. And in places where the focus of city design isn't to make it more convenient for only them, they are very much a good thing. Story 77. At least when I was in school, internet, or rather the assumption that everyone had it, can't count the number of assignments I failed because we didn't have internet at home and I wasn't allowed to go to school early or stay late to use the school computers. Now I have reliable internet, knock on wood, But I occasionally have a similar problem with the assumption that everyone has a printer. Hell, I don't even have a PC. In this house, all we use are phones, tablets, and video game consoles. Story 78. Don't get me wrong, I love the option of being able to just do things online instead of having to call a number during a specific time frame or go in person. My problem is it seems like every time I want to do something, especially something important, their website will be down. For example, I had to set up a new electricity account because I was moving states. The website said it took less than 10 minutes, except the website wasn't working for anyone. So I had to call anyway. And of course, everyone else was calling too. And there weren't enough customer service reps to handle the volume because they scaled down since they wanted people to use the website. This simple 10-minute task ended up taking almost a week because I would call, get put on hold forever, then have to eventually hang up because as a person with a job and other responsibilities, you can't just sit on hold all day. And yes, the website was down that entire time. I would try it every day before calling.